Hello, everyone, and welcome to the premiere show of. Hello, everyone. We are back. Just as I was saying, this is the inaugural launch, and Mercury is in retrograde, but this is the inaugural launch of Science and the Soul with your hosts, Dear James and Theladyjaclyn. So excited to be with you all today on the launch of this new show where we are going to bring you a well of wellness, resources, tools to live the life you love. And Jaclyn, wow, exciting!
Show number 2, and it is literally the first one of for Science and the Soul, and I cannot be more excited because I think today's topic, we already started diving into it yesterday after our show yesterday, and there's so much juice to just talk about today's theme. Ooh, I can't wait. I'm so excited. James, do you want to just dive straight in?
Yes, and just to share with everybody, so each week on Thursdays, the Lady Jaclyn and I are going to bring you different topics and or featured guests. And so that is the intent of the show, is to become a well of resources, tools, wellness for you to go to and really bring you things about living the life you love and how to do it and so forth. And the inaugural episode, today's the inaugural episode, and our topic is leading with the divine feminine in 2022 and beyond, and what that really means, because the world as we know it is changing. And so we're meant to change with it. We're meant to embrace that change. And for many, I'm sure, and certainly women, and this is true for men and women, the divine feminine has been oppressed, suppressed, all of these things where it's really gone from that state, Jaclyn, back in the golden age where the divine feminine was revered. I mean, she was really cared for, respected. The men protected and revered her, and there was an equality and a harmony about that. And this is where we are returning to. And so it's just a beautiful thing to kick off this new show with how to lead with the divine feminine in 2022 and beyond.
I'm so excited. And as always, we are live on Facebook. We are live on YouTube. I know we had a bit of a glitch in the beginning. Like Dear James has said, there is a little bit of Mercury retrograde still with the last portion of it. So we are confidently being patient with technology. So thank you so much for bearing with us. And as always, give us a shout out, drop us a comment in, or let us know that you're here, because that's how we can connect with you. We can only see you, and we can only say hello to you once we actually see you in the comments. Let us know when you're tuning in from. We already have Haley as well. I know you said also back again last year on the other channel. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube on the exact same link. And today, like Dear James says, we are so excited because we are literally going to be diving into the divine feminine, what that looks like. We're going to give you practical tools and tips of how to start embodying that. And it's so beautiful because it's a bit of a flow from yesterday as well, with that balance, the balance of the feminine and the masculine. And we're not talking about gender. We're talking about the energy and the embodiment of that flow, right? So that's exactly what James is talking about. This is not a male and a female thing or element, aspect. This is a masculine and feminine energy conversation, how it's flowing, what the universe is calling from all of us. Because if you've already started feeling the shift, you can already start noticing how the universe, how life is calling you to release control, release the masculine, and step into that feminine of being open, surrendering, letting go, and being open, making space and being open enough to actually receive all of the magic and the opportunities from life, from the universe.
And let's talk about that, Jaclyn, because you literally just made the point. Hello, Samantha. Thank you. Wonderful. Welcome joining us. Let's talk about that because, look at the state of affairs in the world. And we are talking about embracing the energy of the divine feminine, making space to lead with the divine feminine. And there's a lot of, angst, unrest, anger even. We have to address the shadow sides of these things, because why are they coming up? They're coming up because the divine masculine has been ruling, the patriarchal divine masculine has been ruling for the last 2,000 plus years. And all of a sudden, there's this massive shift. We're leaving the age, the era of Pisces, and we've entered the age of Aquarius. And Piscean is patriarchal rule, masculine energy rule. And it's important to realize that it's also that it's the fact that it's patriarchal over, it's masculine over feminine. And so we can see when we look back at our known histories in our lives, we can see the movement, but we can see how the divine feminine has been oppressed. Well, now we're moving into the age of Aquarius. It's matriarchal rule. The caveat, though, is that is not the divine feminine over the masculine. Matriarchal rule is the harmonizing, the blending, the equality of them. And so we want to, Jaclyn, to address the fears that are going on, because we can see if you've been in a masculine dominated society and world for 2,000 plus years, no one likes change. Humans don't like change. And what's being asked of the divine masculine is to make space, make room at the table, open up, and bring forth your divine feminine. Make space. The divine feminine then, and then the pendulum can swing, right? And we see it's quote unquote all about the women right now. And yes, because the divine feminine has been oppressed, suppressed for 2,000 plus years. She's coming into her rightful place. So there's this beauty about, so don't be afraid. The reason I wanted to bring this up at the top of the hour, Jaclyn, is we need to address everyone, male, female, gender, gender neutral, gender fluid, wherever you are in this spectrum. The point of leading with the divine feminine in 2022 and beyond is about equality, harmony, table within yourselves and externally.
So that brings me to I want to say like the practical, right? Because we're literally bridging the gap. So let's unpack what femininity or the divine feminine is, because I think that's kind of like the first thing, is to really be very clear. And it's not about putting it in a box, right?
No,
because the feminine is not about putting it in the box, right? But it is about really bringing awareness to what the true essence of embodying the divine feminine actually looks like. Right?
Absolutely. Because there's a lot of misnomers, right? There's a lot of misnomers about feminism and, it's a dirty, phrase and word. No. Yes. It's just how you apply it, how you see it.
Absolutely. And because you kind of said it's like the divine masculine needs to make space, right? But in order to make space, there needs to be a true embodiment of what it actually looks like to step into that divine feminine energy. And if you really, like for me at least, what it is, it's the start, it's the way shower, it's the direction, it's the creation, it's the I want to say the womb, right? Because it's kind of, that's the description, right? Like it's the perfect description of the womb, which is I want to say the beauty of the ability to create, but it's still needing something. It can't do it by itself, right? But it's the start, and it's so fluid, and it's flow, and it's release, and it's surrender, and it's juicy, and it's just like play and fun, right?
Absolutely. It's nourishment. I mean, let's be brutally honest. None of us would be here without the feminine. Period. I mean, you must have the two. You must have the creative force, the sun, and the receptive force, the moon. It is through the mother. It is through the feminine, the divine feminine, that the whole of all creation is birthed. And she is to be equally revered, respected, cherished, nourished, loved. And who do we go to, Jaclyn? Look, I mean, in feminism, who do we go to? I mean, boys. They always say about children, boys need their mothers up until about 12 or 14. They need the divine feminine to mold and shape and nourish them and teach them love and tenderness and care and all of these things. Because what do they say? When you grow up, they want men to treat them like they do their mother. Their wives want them, you know, you can tell when they've had an amazing mother and so forth because of how they treat the women in their lives. It is an absolute, it's an absolute.
And if you look at, like, let's flip it a little bit and kind of say in manifestation, right? So it's not, because I mean, we understand the gender, but let's look at it as what's needed in order to manifest what you're wanting to attract in your current reality. We've been so conditioned to just embody that masculine do, hustle, create, go get it, right? Energy. And what we're really being called to, and I found this in my life at the moment, is over the last 2 years especially, is to release that control and to understand actually the truth of how it works, right? And to step into the balance, the beautiful dance of that inspired action, which is the masculine, and the surrender and the trust and the patience and the knowing or the receiver of insight into which direction to go to then inspire the action masculine. So it's again this beautiful dance that's happening. And if you like, and this is kind of what I wanted to also pinpoint is, you can see in your life right now based on if your manifestations are coming into fruition or not, but also in your relationships. So look at the relationships that you are attracting, and they are directly a mirror image of potentially what vibrational energy, whether it be masculine or feminine, that you're needing to actually bring out, that you're needing to embody, that you need to invite to be present in your reality. That for me has been a really big, it was like a, whoa, why am I attracting? Oh, wait, it's because I'm really trying to control and be masculine, where the universe is going, no, release and step into that feminine energy of reciprocity, of surprise, of wonder, of awe, of receiving, right?
And you know, it's interesting from a practical standpoint. Again, the word that what keeps coming to me over and over again to articulate is this comfort in releasing. It is matriarchal rule is about the harmony, the blending, the balancing, right? And look at how many, if you're, you know, again, the stereotypes and everything. So we're bringing out what has been so that we know where to go. It's that beautiful quote from Master Jesus, you ask where you're going without knowing where you've been. So let's acknowledge where we've been. And society will say to a man, if they're expressing too much divine feminine, man up. Come on, man up. Be a man. And yet the counter is, and if a woman is leading, if she's demonstrating creative force, masculine force, well, then they've got a whole lot of derogatory narratives for her because, you know, she's not allowed to be that. So here's a dynamic, and yet what's expected? What is 2022 and beyond, this divine feminine, leading with your divine feminine? It's for everyone to come to the table anew. And this is exactly, as you were saying, Jaclyn, just now. It's like we are conditioned to be forceful and then criticized when women, criticized when they are, men when they're soft, when they're not, criticized. Here's the shadows, here's the dualities of these shadows. And yet the divine feminine, the new, says, yeah, we're not doing with it. We're doing away with all of that. Come back to your original state of being. Come back to your harmony, your bliss, your balance. Know when to shine creative force and know when to receive receptive force. It is yin yang, right, Jaclyn? I mean, it's this push pull, this yin yang, this creative force, receptive force. This is what you're talking about, that beautiful knowing, listening, knowing.
And I love how you said it's like coming back to your original self, right? So it's the knowing of thyself to understand which direction you're designed to go without force, within flow, to embody and to trust the guidance that you receive in the present moment. So it's like feminine, you it's almost like, I want to kind of say, in order to really and truly embody the balance of both the masculine and that feminine energy that we all need, right, to create abundant for life, to have the success that we want, you got to be present in the moment. Like, you can't take inspired action, and you can't really be open to receive if you're constantly worried about what happened in the past, if you're constantly reacting to the people around you or the situation around you, or worrying about the future. So it's really being present in the now moment, trusting in yourself, because that's the feminine, that's that energy that we're all being called to do, is to trust ourselves and trust the bigger story or the truth of who we actually are, right?
Exactly, because masculine can be associated with, and is associated with, the external action. It's Mars. And the feminine is the intuiting, is the listening, is the being guided, going as guided. It's the feminine. And so again, it's listening to that and trusting that. And that is going to be what serves us, because again, we're moving beyond service of the self. It's the self in service to the whole. It's the soul self. And the soul self is that divine knowing, that intuitiveness. And of course, everyone has it, right? But who are most connected to it? Women, feminine. And so men, you need to raise your divine feminine. You need to open up and make space to listen to it and follow it. And the same is true, I would say, for women, right? It's this energy.
Yeah, a lot of
Jaclyn,
women,
right?
yeah.
Right. Or people will say, I knew, I should have trusted it, and I didn't. And the divine feminine is all about soul source connection, leading, listening, connected, from a state of connected, receptive force, and going as guided, knowing that what they're going to offer for you, your soul source connection, will always be far greater, far more than you would have given yourself.
Haley actually says in the comments, she says, I feel like the divine feminine is all about connecting with source, embracing that intuition, and love, that spiritual energy, to lead those masculine actions in the way we really need to our path, or to fulfill our path. I mean, that's exactly what we were kind of speaking about, right? Which is, it's literally on the money.
And there's the energy of yesterday that was so brilliantly given to everyone, is controlled power. And that's exactly what that is. Utilizing the divine feminine to mold and shape this creative force, this raw energy, to refine it so as to bring about harmony, beauty, bliss in the way we go about our relationships, our interactions, individually, with ourselves, country to country. Can you imagine, Jaclyn? Imagine what the world would be like when everyone is leading with a divine feminine grace, harmony, intuition.
I mean, hello. Like, I mean, obviously,
Yes,
being
please.
me, I went to go research the gene keys. I brought up the gene keys, and I went to the 2, because obviously gene key 2 is the feminine energy of the chart, right? Or of the keys. And there's a beautiful description. It literally says, the path of the feminine is the path of synchronicity. She knows all things happening in the exact right timing, and there is no way for us to be outside of the stream of life. That is why she trusts and surrenders in every moment.
Isn't that incredibly beautiful?
How beautiful.
And truth.
Like,
simple,
that's just,
simple truth.
Simple
truth.
Yes.
So let's ask everyone listening, if you'll put into the comments, where are you? Where do you feel you are with your leading with your divine feminine? Are you bold? Are you neutral? Or are you hidden? And write the word bold, neutral, or hidden in the comments so that we know where you are, because it's very interesting to see where people are with their feminine. And especially for the men listening, where are you with your divine feminine, with the comfort of what that means, how you might utilize it? Are you not comfortable at all? Are you hidden? No, oh no, no, I'm not doing that. Because again, stigmas and stereotypes, and this is the past. But now we're all being asked to move forward. Embrace the divine feminine within.
Absolutely. And it's also interesting because you can also say, would you say that the divine feminine also comes up in, well, I mean, obviously it's going to come up in different ways, in different forms, depending on the circumstances or depending on what you're dealing with or who you're dealing with. So, I mean, if you're still in the corporate environment, and we know that the corporate environment is extremely masculine and it's like that male dominated space, and women kind of, what I'm noticing as well is they tend to wanting to compete. It's almost like the rise of feminine, that feminine movement is wanting to compete by actually becoming masculine. And that's why we started with let's really define what that feminine energy actually is. Because if you think about it, all the words that we've been using and all the descriptions that we've kind of been giving it, there's no force, right? There's no effort. It's actually ease, it's flow, it's fluid. And so it's interesting how we are stepping into this paradigm shift, but what we're noticing is that the rise of the feminine, that feminine movement, is not necessarily the true embodiment of what the divine feminine energy actually stands for, because the more that energy actually rises and wants to compete with the masculine energy in a masculine way, you're actually not holding space for the divine masculine, because then the masculine energy is like, okay, how do I create here, or how do I take inspired action if you're the one that's forcing, or if you're the one that's wanting to take the bull by the horns? You know what I mean? Does it make sense?
Yeah, and look how we're talking about, yesterday we were talking about the splitting apart aspect so as to regenerate, renew. So we can see in our daily lives and in our societal lives, we can see where the divine masculine, there are those that are, because it divides up, right? So there are those that are clinging, they are cleaving to the past, to the Piscean patriarchal rule. Then you can see, as you're just saying, Jaclyn, the divine feminine side acting in a masculine way so as to finally be heard, so as to finally rise. And so the pendulum kind of swings. And then somewhere with all of this splitting apart and this reckoning, because it really truly is, it's a splitting apart, it's a reckoning, what will ultimately arrive is the harmony of the two. They are not in opposition or competition with one another. It is not, as it has been, one over the other. What will finally come to settle in the middle is this beautiful energy of ease, grace, peace, respect, kindness, that you are able to see, the beautiful statement, namaste, I see the divine in you. I bow to the divine in you. It will be that we see the divine in one another, that we see our true origin, which is we are both divine masculine and divine feminine, no matter of your gender, no matter of your sexual orientation, no matter. You are both. Period. And so again, you might lead with a more masculine energy or a more feminine energy. However, you're going to then learn, and whether that's male or female or whatever, it doesn't matter. But what's being given to us, what is being shown to us, is matriarchal rule. And she is the nurturer, the lover, the peacemaker. She is the divine mother. And that beauty is returning. It doesn't look like it, may not feel like it, right, Jaclyn? I mean, it's a little bit rough out there because we're in the crossover. We're in the one era ending, the new one rising. And there are those that are literally wired for that new, and those that are just cleaving. They see the writing on the wall and they don't want it.
Mm-hmm. It brings two words actually to mind when we think of this feminine energy, and it's receptive and adaptability, or adaptive, right? You can't be receptive and want to control, and you'll struggle you'll struggle to adapt while you're trying to take control, because you're so focused on the control element, or the needing to know, or the push, or the making things happen, right? But even if you look at that masculine, I mean, there's not, the masculine is needed, right? It needs
Absolutely.
the direction from the feminine. It needs the receipt, like the feminine brings it in, the masculine takes it out. The masculine says, cool, let's go, let's drive. You've given me the direction, let's move, and the feminine's like, oh yes, I receive it, and the masculine pushes it forward. So we need both. We need this dance. And it's really, again, it's looking at your own life and kind of saying, okay, and always draw it back to the practicality, it's looking at the manifestation, it's looking at your relationships. Look at your relationships and kind of see, where is there this tug and pull, this war of, I've been experimenting with this idea of, if something gets triggered within me, I go, okay, instead of reacting on a physical level, let me experiment on an energetic level. So let me tune in. Let me see. Like, say if for example, you feel triggered and you kind of like, oh, I don't feel heard, or I don't feel seen right now. And all you do is you energetically connect with that energy of feeling seen and feeling heard. And maybe it's a person that you're kind of experiencing this with, and you tune into their energy and you kind of say, oh, I love it when you see me. I love it when you hear me. That's that divine feminine that we're talking about, because that natural, I suppose, pattern from the past would be like, be reactive, kind of get into maybe an argument, or kind of want to take control of the situation, try to look for certainty, possible outcomes, instead of surrendering and knowing and understanding the truth, which is, there's energy, there's this field around us that we can tap into. I can promise you it's been absolutely incredible to bear witness, where you just have the intention of this thought and you watch the situation. It might not happen in that moment at first, because there might be programming that you're still releasing, but I promise you, like, it's going to shift, it's going to happen. And when it does, you go, oh, whoa, is this really what this feels like, to surrender and trust in knowing that energetically I'm creating just because I embody the divine feminine.
Absolutely. There's a beauty in this, Jaclyn, of, as you were just articulating, it's because they keep coming back to me with raw force, raw energy, and refined force, refined energy. So creative force, receptive force. And isn't it interesting, internally with myself, and every human goes through this. So we come to a state and you're dealing with a particular issue. And your natural inclination, as you said, is creative force. It's masculine force. Go, handle it, take charge, do something, And what's happened many times recently, which is as a Virgo, you and I laugh, you're Aries, I'm Virgo. We both have this same thing of, let's go, let's get on the train, let's go, let's go, let's go. And we've both said yes, and we've made space for the and part, which is an internal process. It's an internal piece of energy and discussion where you say, I know my inclination is the masculine creative force to go forward now, do it. And yet you then hold yourself and you say, however, I also know intuitively, I know to listen, to when I say stand down, meaning step back, take a breath, so as to not misstep, because it's all well and good to go out with creative force and knock things over and go, and then you stand back and you go, oh wow, and I did that, and I didn't get where I thought I was going to, because it wasn't time, or it wasn't the right move at the right time. And so here's this beauty of peace, patience. It doesn't mean do nothing. The divine feminine is about she knows. as you said, it's ease and grace and fluidity. She knows. She knows when to make the right move. She's not bothered. Because she knows. And
Because
so
she trusts, yeah?
she trusts, she knows. And so, and we all, you all, everybody, we all know, we know when we do something counter to what we know. And the knowing is divine feminine. Creative force, masculine, mental. It's about, and so there's the beauty of the harmony of the two of, yes, we require both of these in balance. We absolutely need both in balance. And that...
So if...
No, sorry, Jack, and that is really what our topic today is about. Leading with the divine feminine in 2022 and beyond is leading with the understanding we need both. We need to be in that state of receiving and utilize, as Haley said, and utilize that force to direct the divine masculine, to mold and shape with it, to know when to advance and when to hold or recede, be patient. That is truly what leading with the divine feminine in 2022 and beyond is all about.
So if say, for example, a person is thinking now, maybe they're listening and having the thought of, okay, where do I begin? Like, I mean, I'm doing the work, I'm on this journey of self-development, I'm understanding now the concept of the divine feminine, the masculine, and the dance that needs to happen between both, but I'm kind of like, what's my next step? Like, where am I at, right? Because I know that was my mindset right in the beginning. I'm like, oh, this all sounds great. And I have a laugh because my mom always used to be like, yo, you need to a bit masculine there, hey? Like, tap into that feminine energy of yours. And I used to be like, oh, want to pull my teeth out. But she was so right. When she said it, I was like, what do you mean? You know, Aries inside of me, like, wants to go, wants to make things happen, wants to get on that train. And the universe is like, nope, there's divine timing. So for anyone who's starting out and they're kind of asking the question, okay, where do I start? What's the first thing? What's a tip or a tool or a practical thing that I can implement in my life right now that's going to get me closer to the embodiment of the balance of both, but also the divine feminine?
The first thing that literally comes to mind is making peace with internal peace. Let go of the stereotypes. Let go of what we've been told and what you shoulda, coulda, woulda, and need to do. No. Simply make peace with, come to the realization that I am both masculine and feminine. And I'm going to, in my own state of peace, grace, knowing, I'm going to go as guided, not as what everybody tells me, or what society has shown me, or what I've been programmed, taught. I'm going to release all of that and be perfectly comfortable. We talk about being comfortable in our skin. That's about being comfortable with your divine masculine and divine feminine. You see what I mean? Because that's what...
So with yourself.
Absolutely. Because it's literally what your mom was, like, hey, and look at your immediate reaction is, oh, I'm a little uncomfortable. I'm a little bit like, what do you mean? Because we're not at peace with that aspect.
Because what does that mean, right? Because that's the juice, that's the work. And that's what you're talking about with so I'm going to play on a little bit, which is, so you've definitely said stepping or honoring your intuition. So like trusting yourself, right?
Yes.
Then there's also a part of letting go of the aspect that you feel like it's not okay to show, right?
Yes.
The vulnerability. And that's what came up for me when, I was told that conditioning that I was carrying for so long was, you've got to be strong. You've got to be the warrior. You've got to fight, you can't be seen as weak. Those are the misconceptions of what the power of the feminine actually it doesn't stand for that. I mean, it's so much more powerful than that. It's not weakness. Neither masculine nor feminine has a weak element in it. If you're truly embodying both, and there's a harmonic dance that's happening, they're both so powerful that I think it surpasses our actual, what we can actually perceive in our minds. So it's cultivating intuition. It's letting go of the past trauma or any patterns that you associate with that feminine energy. Sam actually says, curious, is fear masculine energy? That's an interesting question.
I love that question. I saw it pop up and I was like, oh, I love that question. Because again, what's interesting is, so fear is universal energy. Remember,
I was going to say,
fear is your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Fear, the only thing that makes fear, the energy of fear, either a catalyst or an immobilizer, is how you're utilizing it. So are you in its, it's genderless, it's universal, it's energy. And so this is a very interesting thing where we see in the divine masculine, when we see aggression, okay, that's force, that's masculine. When we see kindness, empathy, and so forth, that's feminine, it's receptive. But fear is this universal energy that it's gender. The way they're telling it's genderless. It's simply a force, an energy. How are we using it? Love is universal energy.
I was gonna say love. Love is the same, because it's like they're playing on the opposite end of the spectrum. It's like fear and love. There's no, masculine or feminine element. But also look at the kind of the questioning of the fear being masculine, right? Where there's always going to be polarity in either or. So masculine again is not a negative. Like
No.
there's a shadow side to the masculine, definitely, because of, the conditioning, all of the trauma, the negativity that surrounds it, the lower frequency, the lower vibrations. But the masculine is not a negative. There's a power to the masculine. And if you truly step into the masculine, what you're actually doing is you're being powerful enough to hold space for the power of the feminine energy, and both of you can dance together, and that creates magic, right?
Absolutely. So, and there's I'm going to not get it right, but there's a beautiful quote and statement that talks about how, the general that wins isn't the one that did so by force, by bloodshed. It's the one that won without ever raising a sword, without ever. And of course, what does that mean? It means that they used the positive aspects, the positive energy and attributes of the masculine so as to reach resolution. One would say and argue that they used their divine feminine to achieve the outcome without ever doing bloodshed, harm. So with fear and love, you can see as a universal energy, you can see fear can be a motivator. It can be a positive force for change. You get the excitement and you get that, and it propels you forward. Or it can be its shadow. Well, it's the same for love, where it immobilizes. With love, it can be the most beautiful, wonderful thing. And or the shadow side of love can be very harmful. Because again, how are you utilizing it? But they don't fall into masculine, feminine because they're universal. They're all-encompassing. They transcend. Brilliant question, Sam. Brilliant question in this discussion about leading with the divine feminine. And
I want to add another practical tool to embody the feminine. Nurturing. How often do we not nurture or take care of ourselves first, right? We're so, especially as women. I mean, listen, women are natural nurturers to everybody else, and they seemingly forget themselves. But just if we're not looking at gender and we're looking at the soul, right, or the human, how many times do we not nurture ourselves? And when you really truly nurture yourself, you take time out for self-care, right? You take time out to listen to your body, to honor what it needs, to feed it healthy, good, wholesome foods, to moisturize, to dress in beautiful, comfortable clothing. Like, that is a practice that you can do on a daily basis that's going to get you in alignment with that energy, that divine feminine energy that we're talking about, that's going to allow you to be the receiver. It's going to allow you to be adaptable. It's going to allow you to be open and vulnerable and creative and the way shower, right? Is by literally taking care of yourself. I mean, how many of you struggle? Like, do you guys struggle with self-care? And self-care could also be the thoughts that we think. How many times, I know I struggle with this, I don't want to say struggle with this, but I've had this pattern, is that self-sabotage of we speak so beautifully to everybody else, but then the thoughts that we think about ourselves, I catch myself and I'm like, oh, would you tell somebody else that? So why on earth are you speaking to yourself like that, right? How many times do we not realize that is powerful? That's part of self-care. That's part of stepping out of the conditioning, stepping into the divine feminine of, oh, I'm beautiful right now, with everything, with all the bumps and the bruises and the awkwardness and the oopsie, everything is just, this is me. That's that divine feminine energy, right?
Yes, and there's a beautiful additional self-care as you're talking about the practice of utilizing our mantras, and you just sit with stillness. This is something everyone can do. And you just sit and say, I am harmony. I am bliss. I am the divine feminine. I am the divine masculine. You can keep these going, and you can see how they start to give you ease. They start to, you kind of like, it's an exhale. Your body will just come in, or you might get a real uptick of like joy and bliss and happiness, because when you state I am, and then you add the word, and you can say it over and over again to yourself. So if you're struggling with something, if you're being too aggressive, or you're being too mild or meek, utilize words that empower or that soften, and I am, and you'll be amazed. It's one of my go-tos. If I just want a mood booster, I'll do that. And you'll find that, 5 minutes of it, and you walk away feeling renewed. You can see me smiling. I'm smiling because the thought of it gives me joy. And it's something that everyone can do. It costs nothing. 5 minutes of your time. And it's a beautiful way, a beautiful practice of coming into harmony and resonance with your divinity, your divine masculine and your divine feminine. And that is leading with the divine feminine in 2022 and beyond. It's matriarchal. It's the harmony and the balance of them. Haley is saying, James, I just have to say something that came to my mind looking at you on screen. Reflection will bring you the highest good, to the top of your game, the thing you are working towards. It's beautiful. Yes. Reflection.
Okay, so I want to kind of bring up the relationship between emotions and the divine feminine. That idea of feeling, because the divine feminine is all about feeling, right? It's not thinking.
We're not supposed to. What? Your emotions. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're super emotional.
Oh, yeah, you're so... Oh, there's another dirty word for us, Jaclyn, right? Oh, your emotions.
Emotional.
And how condescending, right? You're being emotional. Excuse me?
Yeah.
No, men? Yeah. No, not okay.
Feel
your emotions.
I would love to know. I would love to know, guys, how many times have you been told that you're too emotional? Like, if I had $1 for every time I was told you're so emotional, or like oh my word, you're overthinking it, like you're feeling too much right now, I would be a trillionaire, literally. And in the beginning, I struggled with it, James. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I thought there was something wrong with me, because I was like, is it bad to feel? Because I really feel deeply now with human design. Thankfully, with human design, I understand it now. I have an open solar plexus. I mean, hello, like I'm literally amplifying the energy of the emotions of everyone that's around me. So I'm really feeling. But I've stepped into the acceptance that it's okay to feel your emotions.
1,000%, absolutely. And this is where, again, look at from the feminine and the masculine, how the last 2,000 plus years has denigrated the feminine. Oh, you're being, it's dismissive. It's condescending and dismissive. When the woman is in touch with her emotions, when the woman is listening and demonstrating her feelings, her emotion. And the flip side for the masculine is all the derogatory comments that come with, oh, you must not be a man, or you're, other derogatory. Both have been applied because what's to universal fear, to bring up that point, the universal fear, because your emotions, your feelings, which is divine feminine, isn't okay. Well, we're not living that way anymore. The Aquarian age is about being okay, masculine or feminine, gender neutral, being okay with your feelings and presenting them. And again, here, Jaclyn, the responsibility then lies in each of us presenting them in a manner that can be heard, that can be seen, that can be received. There's a way that can be honored and respected. And thereby, okay, now there's room, because then it's not, oh, well, hey, guy, buck up, or hey, sissy. None of that. No, that's gone. That's old school, old programming, old patriarchal language. The divine feminine says, oh, I see you. I respect your gentleness or your emotion. And flip side for the women, I see you and I hear you. You're not, I'm to listen and see your emotion, your feeling. Again, isn't it the beauty? It's courtesy, it's respect, it's listening.
It's so powerful, though. It's really so powerful. I've seen a person who's truly embodied both, where they're masculine, like they're a man. Like, so if you look at gender, they're male, and they, even though they were raised in an environment where it was very masculine, that old paradigm of what masculinity looks like, and their soul, or their true essence, has a lot of that feminine power, that feminine energy of nurturing, kindness, reciprocity, adaptability, all of the things that we've been speaking about, and then playing between both of them, holding that space and saying, yeah, it's okay. Like, you want to talk about it? Talk about it. Like, you could feel what, and now how do you feel? You feel better? Okay, brilliant. Let's go. And it's so powerful. Like, it's really so powerful when you can truly understand the beautiful balance between both and how they play out in your life in every aspect. Because literally, we can talk about all the points within our life and how it plays out. But if you're just looking at the emotional aspect, there's nothing more powerful than a person who is really and truly able to hold space for another, to allow them to go through the emotions, but also for you to hold space for yourself, to allow yourself to feel what needs to be felt, work through the emotions, not trying to avoid them, not working with them in reaction, in response, but just being witness to how you are feeling in the moment, noticing what is coming up for you, seeing, it's like little gems. Like, if you're feeling, it's because something is coming up to remind you of something. It's the byproduct of a thought based on an experience, or it's a byproduct, it's the trigger point that's an indicator to the past trauma that's coming up for you because it's the right time for you to heal. It's so beautiful to be able to dance and play with the feeling and the emotions and the power that comes with allowing yourself to actually feel.
Absolutely. Yeah. The feeling and the emotions, that is divine feminine. It is intuiting. It is listening. Because you'll often hear, I say this with my clients all the time. What do you feel? It's not what you think. What do you, or another way to say it, what do you know? Your knowing is an intuition. It's a knowing. It's intuitive. It is that feeling, knowing. It's not mental thinking. It's not a thought. It's like, and you can have, the beauty of that when you know something in an instant because everything came in at once. It was that whoosh, and it's like somebody whooshed you with a, like a zip file, and then they unpack it. It's instantaneous and it unpacked, and you're like, you got it all in one moment, one knowing. That is about the beauty of, and we've got, here we are. We're moving into this era where the knowing, the feeling, isn't a bad thing. The emotion, the allowing that to lead us, because it's divine. It's our true north. It's our soul source connection. It's that beauty. And Jaclyn, I want to bring something to the forefront that is, because it's really beautiful to watch the course of, again, where have we been in order to know where we're going. And this beauty of, we start off patriarchal rule. So the divine feminine has been oppressed. The divine masculine raises over the feminine. And then you come into the early, pre that is African Americans fighting for freedoms. So enslavement. Then you see in the early 1900s, you see women with the suffrage movement and how they begin to have their voice and so forth. Then you come into other minorities, gay, lesbian, and so forth. And we're at this moment in time, and it's been happening for the current prominence of what's been is transgender. And here we're talking about the age of Aquarius, Aquarian, matriarchal, the harmonizing of divine masculine and divine feminine. And there's literally an example of that through transgender individuals, where you see that they're saying, I'm born in a female body or I'm born in a male body, but my internal being is the other. And the effect that they go through to become harmonic, to find internal balance and bliss. And when you think about this, and this is why I raise it, at our being, at our divinity, we're androgynous. We're divine masculine, divine feminine. We are not male, female in that sense. We are this androgynous, divine masculine, divine feminine, pure. And to bring in this peace, and what is that bumping up against? Fear. Fear of advancing to something, or fear that it's not okay to be okay. That it's not okay to be our divine selves. It's a very interesting, because again, the receptive, the divine feminine, she knows. She's all encompassing. She's number two. It takes two.
It's so interesting how you were talking about that fear of change, the fear of stepping out of what we're familiar with. If you look at the kids today that are being born, and I had this beautiful conversation today with a woman who works blending the generations together, right? Because you can see there's this, you get the generations that are coming in that are, you get millennials, and then you get I think it's the Z's, and the Gen Z's, and they have no labels. Like, they want to get rid of the labels. They literally don't identify with any labels. They kind of like, they still kind of want, they still kind of talk in labels, but they don't really, they just do it so that I'm millennial, you know, can understand it, right? But they're already getting rid of the labels, of the identification with something outside of themselves to explain who they actually are. It makes no sense to them, right? And then you're looking at the kids that are being born right now. I mean, look at your kids. Like, look, if they're younger than 25, look at them, watch them, notice them in their true essence of self, and watch how they are so far out of trying to label or trying to attach to this external thing, this external element or concept that has been coming, you know, through the lineage, and kind of look at the reason they're coming in is because that's where we're shifting. We're shifting away from the he, she.
Right, these
You know,
very
the
defined norms
label.
or
Yeah,
constructs,
exactly.
or they're very fluid. I mean, and of course, children are just pure and innocent. I mean, they and as you've just said, they are the next iteration, the next generation. They come in whole and complete. They are where we're going, and they don't see gender and stereotype and all of this patriarchal language and structure. And so there's hexagram 23 again, about the splitting apart so as to regenerate, renew. And so for all of us millennials onward, we too, I know, I can't claim to be a millennial, I'm sorry, you know, Jaclyn's like, ha ha ha.
You would never say, I mean,
I
hello.
mean, hello. No, but the beauty of this is no matter where we are on the spectrum, we are all wired for this moment. We all came in, we all signed the soul contract. We all want to be here for this transition from Piscean patriarchal rule to Aquarian matriarchal rule. And the beauty, the way to do this, you know, the tip of the show is about lead with your divine feminine. Make peace, whether you're masculine, feminine, gender neutral, whatever it is, you are a soul. You are a soul experiencing, having a human experience. Embody, embrace your divine feminine. Make peace with her, love her, revere her, celebrate her, not over the masculine, but in the purity and harmony with it. This is important because it is not like, oh, it's time for the feminine, and boy, those men are gonna pay. That's kind of what we're experiencing right now. But that's not matriarchal Aquarian rule. It is the antithesis of that. It's the antithesis of patriarchal rule. It is about coming to peace, to harmony with self, with each other. And that's so empowering. It's not power, it's empowering. It's the harmonizing and the blending of power, raw and refined power, to be empowered.
So let's recap quickly how you can practically do that, how you practically embody the divine feminine. We spoke about the cultivating your intuition, so really starting to learn how to trust yourself, right, so that you can make and forge your own path. We spoke about tuning into emotions, allowing yourself to feel, reconnecting with what feelings actually are, and then also holding space for someone else that's with you, that's around you, to feel as well, you know, giving them permission to tune into, hone into, to experience what they're feeling, to release any traumas or any negative, low vibrational energies that are no longer serving you, to kind of release that past trauma, that identification that is no longer even in the lingo, but it's literally that letting go process. It is slowing down and becoming present. So present in the now moment. James gave us a beautiful meditation, you know, reaffirming words that are powerful, that are that are soft, that are elegant, starting with the I am as well. The two beautiful, powerful words, the I am. And then, was there anything else that I left out?
Just making space. Make space. Allow, and masculine, feminine, gender neutral. Make space for seeing one another. In other words, when we encounter divine masculine, make space. Okay, and vice versa. Divine masculine, make space for receiving divine feminine. In other words, when your husband, brother, father, whatever demonstrates divine feminine, hold that space for them. Show them and demonstrate that it's okay. It's not about, you're not going to ridicule, you're not going to, denigrate and so forth. In the reverse, divine masculine, when divine feminine is expressing and emoting and so forth, make space, listen. Because what you will come to is you'll be able to see yourself, because remember, everyone's someone's character in their play. So you've asked each other to play these roles so as to see yourself better. So if you're looking at the divine masculine and you're uncomfortable with them expressing their divine feminine, it's because you have an issue with your divine feminine. And vice versa, gentlemen, and this doesn't have to be, we're using the easy one, because this can be both male, male, female, female, that type, gender neutral, it doesn't matter. But what it's demonstrating, Jaclyn, is when you're then denigrating, well, then you're not okay with experiencing your emotions. Fear. And it's denigrate, so you denigrate, you make fun of, as opposed to saying, wow, when I really hear him, her, they, oh, it's because I'm uncomfortable with something or I'm fearing something. And that's your absolute opportunity to make space, to make room, to be more, to do better. That's divine feminine. That's leading with the divine feminine.
And I'm conscious of the time as we close off. I want to give an invitation to those of you that are listening, that are either tuning in live on Facebook, on YouTube, you're listening to our podcast, you're watching the replay. Yes, I said it. We're going to have a podcast.
We do. It's a podcast.
So exciting. Is to let us know, write to us, let us know what it is that you're wanting us to maybe touch on as we go forward with the show. Remember, the show is for you to have those conversations, to bring those tools, to become that wealth or that well of knowledge, so that you can tap into when you're needing a little bit of guidance, as we move into the new that we keep talking about each and every single week. We talk about that new. So we want to be able to hold space for you, to inspire you to really transition, to revolutionize the way that you behave, so that you can step into the new as your authentic self. So send us you can drop it in the comments if you feel comfortable, or you can send us a personal DM as well, whether it be on Instagram, within Facebook. You can send us a message. Let us know what it is, if there's a topic or there's something that you're grappling with that you want to maybe add as a theme for the Thursday shows, because like James said right in the beginning, every Thursday we come to you with science and the soul. It's literally bridging the gap between the practicality and the spirituality, so that we can step into that new as our most authentic selves. And we would like to hear from you, and let us know, guide us, hold space for us as well. Let us know which direction you're wanting us to go.
Absolutely. And if you're listening to the replay or live, after the show, share with us your thoughts, your hopes, your desires, your fears about the divine feminine. Because this is powerful. Remember, long after our show, the comments are there, and we can continue to add to the comments and reply and have discussions in the thread about the divine feminine, leading with the divine feminine, and the divine masculine, the beauty of how does fear play a role in universal energy. So share with us how the show today impacted you, or what did it bring up? And share, if you're comfortable with that, please share that with us so that we can continue the conversation each week beyond the 60 minutes that we're here with you, because that's really important and I believe really nourishing and helpful. People will see the thread and see the discussion and go, ah, wow, that's insightful, that's inspiring. And maybe it's challenging, maybe it's a challenging topic. But that's what the Lady Jaclyn and Dear James, myself, are here to do, is to kind of bridge these things and open up discussions to make it safe and illuminate them. That's the beauty of Science and the Soul. And we're going to bring to you many different topics and featured guests to continue these amazing conversations. So thank you all for listening, and join us next Wednesday for our show, Dear James and the Lady Jaclyn, and next Thursday for more of Science and the Soul. And the Lady Jaclyn, close it out for us.
Yes, thank you so much. It's been an absolute amazing first show with you guys. As always, it's an absolute blessing. We look forward to connecting with you next week. We look forward to connecting with you deeper, whether it be in the comments or in the personal DMs as well. We're sending you so much love, and a reminder to trust yourself, to allow yourself to experience, let it sink in. Maybe you've had some seeds that have been planted. Let it sink in, play around with it, and let us, and you don't even have to let us know if it doesn't feel comfortable for you, but kind of just check in with yourself and see, how does your day evolve based on this new awareness, based on the conversation, based on the tips that we've given you. Like, how can you start trusting yourself a little bit more? How can you start allowing yourself to feel? How can you start checking in with your kids and actually giving them space to teach you? Because now you know that they've come in with that beautiful energy and that beautiful power to navigate us, to the newness that we've been speaking about. And as always, we send you so much love. We are so grateful to be able to have this space with you guys. And we can't wait to tune in with you guys next week again.
Thank you all so much. We'll see you next week.